So this week I'm going to do something a little bit different. Instead of a game review, I'm going to do my E3 thoughts for this year, 2012. And personally, I'm not going to talk about the Microsoft, Ubisoft, or EA conferences because I frankly didn't watch them. And I heard that the Microsoft one was really bad, and the Ubisoft one was really good. So it's kind of like, whatever. So anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to talk about this because I'm going to talk about the Nintendo one and a little bit of the Sony one, just because I caught the Sony one from beginning to end. And the Nintendo one mainly because I'm a huge Nintendo fan. Now, a lot of people have been complaining. This is completely unscripted, by the way. A lot of people have been complaining about the Nintendo press conference. And in a way, I can't blame them, but at the same time, I can. People are like really thinking about it too much. People are like, oh, no Zelda, no, like, where is the Nintendo stuff? Like, you gotta realize, Nintendo, like, just told us all those new games last year. Skyward Sword, Super Mario 3D Land, and stuff like that. Like, sure, I would have liked to see a new Metroid game, a new F-Zero game, which I haven't made one since GX on the GameCube. But I mean, we also got Kirby's Return to Dreamland last year. All that footage was shown last year. So we couldn't expect too much other than maybe Pikmin 3 and the new Luigi's Mansion game, which I didn't get to see the tag of what it was. I might put something on the screen or something, I don't know. But it's just like, people, like, you can't expect them to be like a new Zelda game every E3. I don't think we realize this. But between Skyward Sword, well, from Twilight Princess to Skyward Sword, I don't think we got all that much either for like a couple of years. So you gotta keep that in mind, that we can't get new games every year. Like, we can't do that. Like, you can't expect that because it's not gonna work. They need time to make games, and they need time to, like, conceptualize games for that matter. So, I mean, they're also working on a new console, so you can't expect them to have time to be working on new games all the time, especially when they already have games in development, being Pikmin 3 and Luigi's Mansion 2 or whatever. It's just kind of like, everyone's complaining about this E3 being kind of lackluster, and in a way I agree with them, but it's just because of the time that we're in the industry. We're in that weird phase where it's not time for new stuff right now. We're still working on stuff. Like, even like Sony is still like showing off the same old stuff. It's all really sequels. It's nothing really new. There is new stuff. I didn't really like the Sony conference because that's one thing I don't like about Sony and Microsoft, is that a lot of their games come from third party. That's why everyone's excited for Nintendo, because all of Nintendo's stuff is first party, generally, and that's what makes it exciting. And we have to kind of get used to the fact that if Nintendo wants to stay competitive, we kind of do have to start letting in some third party support, because the casual market that they've been aiming for won't want to get the new console as soon as it comes out, generally, because casual gamers don't care about graphics and new stuff necessarily. So it's kind of like their parents, for the kids and stuff, would just kind of be like, well, we already have a Wii. We don't really need a new one if it's going to cost us a few $100s, right? So Nintendo kind of has to get into the hardcore market a little bit. So you gotta let them have their their third-party development. And I don't know, you guys, a lot of people have just been saying like it sucked. Ubisoft won. I didn't see Ubisoft, so I don't know. But you gotta cut Nintendo some slack. Last year, 2011, we got the Zelda Symphony Orchestra opening it up and seeing Zelda footage and stuff. And as a Nintendo fan, that's amazing. So, yeah, but could you honestly expect to get that every single year? Exactly, you can't expect to get that every year, because if you get that every year, you're gonna lose. It's gonna lose its luster, because it doesn't feel special. We were lucky that last year there was Skyward Sword coming out, and they decided to go all out and start talking about Pikmin 3 is in development, Luigi's Mansion 2 is in development, we're gonna make a new Smash Brothers game, and then they showed new Super Mario 3D Land and stuff. We're lucky that we did get to see new footage of Pikmin 3, New Super Mario Brothers U, and New Super Mario Brothers 2, which I'm still a little confused about. But you can't blame them for not showing us a new Zelda or a new Smash game or anything. They're still in development, or in some cases still being conceptualized. They're still like thinking like how would this Zelda game go? They're not even thinking of like, they're not like, okay, this is how Link is gonna look. Like they're not even like drawing the new art yet, probably. They might have, who knows, but I'm just saying they're probably still, they don't have enough for them to really show it yet. And I don't even think they still have a release date for the Wii U yet. So you gotta give them time. They're still working on a whole console, and you're asking them to give us a new Zelda game, a new a new like Super Mario game, like Galaxy, or like a new Galaxy / 3D Land sort of thing. The 3DS got a good showing because they have a lot of new games coming out, and that's interesting. And that's interesting because, you know, the 3DS is getting, Nintendo's portable market always seems to get a lot of buzz because they have like a lot of games. I feel like their portable games seem to work a lot more like to the older style where anyone can make a game for it and all the games come out being good. But Nintendo's consoles don't necessarily get that. Like the Wii, everything that was third-party developed, with like a few exceptions, was generally like mini game anthology again and again and again. So you didn't get all that love. But the 3DS, I feel like it gets a lot of that third-party support, and you get a lot of hidden gems. Like from what I hear, The World Ends With You. Never played it, but that's one of those games. It's just like, it's not Nintendo, but it's still really good on their console. And back in the days of the Super Nintendo and the NES, it was probably the same way. It was kind of like third-party developers made a lot of games, and they made good games. They made decent games. And with the Wii, we kind of only expected first-party games to be good, and it kind of was true. There were some good third-party games, but it's not the point. Overall, just Nintendo did a great job because they did show us games. They started out really good showing us Pikmin 3 and all that. But they started getting into the third-party stuff, and then they ended off on this game called Nintendo Land. And it is going to be their party anthology game, kind of like Wii Sports and Wii Sports Resort. I can only see Nintendo Land working if it's a pack-in game to the Wii U. If it's not a pack-in game, I don't see it doing all that well because Nintendo just had a big run-in with minigame anthologies being a running joke about their system. They did do a good job of making the game based on their respective characters, like Mario and Animal Crossing and Zelda and stuff. So that's really good because that definitely will make it a lot more enjoyable than Wii Sports. So I gotta give it up that they're doing a great job. But for people who are complaining that they didn't get a new game or anything, you gotta keep in mind we're just in that sort of area where you can't really complain about what's new. You can't really complain about what's gonna, like, you can't really complain about what they showed us because we got it all last year, and they can't do that every single year. If they do that every single year, they would inevitably show us so many new games that they could end up being backlogged for years, for one, because they'd have so many games in front of them, and two, the games might not even get done in general because there's so many games that they said they were going to make. Then I have to work on all of them. So you gotta give them the credit they deserve, though, because they did a great job in general. You gotta cut the whole E3 some slack because they're all still like developing and working on stuff on the inner side right now. You can't really expect them to make grade A games and announce them every single E3 because then we wouldn't get any games, right? So just leave it alone. They did do a great job generally. the games they showed off did look interesting. You just gotta cut them some slack that it wasn't Zelda. It wasn't like a new main Mario game like Galaxy or 64 or Sunshine or something, right? You gotta leave it alone. You gotta step away from it and be like, we got what we expected from this E3. We got what we expected. Keep in mind the media tries to excite you for it, and then when you get extra let down because we're kind of in that phase where it's not going to be that interesting. So you just got to keep that in mind, guys. And then, like, that's about it. I can't really say much else. It's just kind of like we got what we wanted. We got to see the new Rock Pikmin and Pikmin 3. We got to see some shots of the new power-ups and new Super Mario Brothers U and stuff. You just gotta leave it alone. You just gotta say, look, it looks like it's gonna be a good game. It looks like the game's gonna be good. You just can't expect anything new from them because they're still thinking about what the game could be about. They're still like storyboarding at most. They're not even developing a game yet. Exactly. Well, they might be, but like not to the point where they could show it off at E3 or something. So with that in mind, I do say that E3 was a good showing from Nintendo. It's just kind of like, you can't, it's just kind of like we're all a little let down because we kind of wanted new stuff, but we're not at a time where there can be new stuff. So thank you guys for watching, and next week we'll be back to good old reviews. I'm sorry I've kind of slacked on it. I only have 5 videos now and only 3 of them are reviews, but next I'll give you a little insight. Next week is not going to be a Sonic review. I gotta kind of get away from it eventually, so I'll see you guys all next week.